Hi, and welcome to the 64 Doors. Today we're going to open door 23. Here we find the archetype, the Translator, and we're going to look at this archetype from a human design perspective and a gene key perspective. We're going to start to look at the activations in the Rave Mandala. So right now we have the Sun in Taurus in gate 23. We have the Earth in Scorpio in gate 43, and the design part of the cross is Aquarius in 49 and Leo in the 4th gate. This is the right angle cross of explanation. And it has to do with, we could start with the insight. So the process is in the individual circuitry is that we have an inspiration that comes in the 61 in the head center, and then it goes into the 24 in the ajna and it gets rationalized, and then the penny drops down in the 43 in the bottom of the ajna. That's the insight that comes in, and then it goes down into the throat and it gets assimilated and articulated and expressed in the 23. So that's what we see in the first part of the cross. And then in the right angle cross of explanation, we have the 49 that has to do with principles, with needs. It's an emotional gate. It has the potential for a revolution in relationships, but that's when the mutation happens in the emotional center. And then the 4, which is an ajna gate and has to do with understanding and forgiveness. So that's the right angle cross. And then we come to the juxtaposition cross and the left angle cross, we're going to have the 30 and the 29. The 30 is very fiery. It's about wanting the desire to have an experience. It's fire over fire, so fiery energy. And then the 29 is water energy. It's about devotion, about saying yes, about committing. So you can all see that all these crosses are kind of going over things in order to being able to explain them so that other people get them. And here it has more to do with principles and understanding. And in these cases, it's more about the desire. It's more about what fills up this individual, and that's explained and accepted by others. And of course, if you have any of these crosses, look into exactly the explanation of each one of them. We can go right into the circuitry. So this is the interesting thing with the 23 and the 43 is that they are both programming partners, so opposite side of the wheel, and also they are harmonic gates between the ajna and the throat. So they are quite common together, so people that have that whole channel. And it's the channel of structuring, and it's the genius to freak. So this archetype can really be perceived as a genius if it's in the right place and if it's invited to share and if it comes with those completely new ideas that are articulated in a way so people can assimilate them, then it's going to be the genius. But if the timing is off, if it's not in the right place, not with the right people, then those breaking ground insights can really, or concepts can really more be perceived as a freak. And it says, if you can't explain your insights clearly, you will always drive people away. So the right timing when to speak is so important for this channel. I actually like when the website is already up when I do the video. So just looking at our main art here, you see we have these concepts and maybe some complexity and new things that are inside of us. A truth is inside of us, and that comes from a place from inspiration. And then what this archetype does, what the translator does, is taking this inner knowing and translating it out to little portions, assimilatable, how do you say that, pieces that are well articulated so that other people can digest them. That's the process of the translator. And if we look at some of the keywords, we see, it's giving voice to something new. It's making the eternal knowing digestible for others. It is about innovative thinking. It's a clear articulation of new concepts. It's a catalyst for evolution. And the Achilles heel is the frustration when not understood, perceived as a freak or a genius, or the impulsivity, because there is a spontaneity, and sometimes it can really want to say, I know I know how it is, and it hasn't really thought about how to explain it so that other people can actually take it in. So in the gene keys, we always speak about 3 frequencies: the shadow, the gift, and the city. The shadow is the contracted fear frequency, and the gift is the pathway. That's the human, that's what our archetypes does. They walk on that pathway on the gift frequency. And then we have the city, which is the really high creator frequency. So in the gene keys, we also really go into explaining the shadows to understand how does this archetype look when it is contracted, when it is in fear, when it's not open. So here we have the victim of complexity, the dilemma of timing, and the repressive nature that is going to repress the fear, and then it comes out actually as being dumb. And when it's instead that fear is projected outwards, then it's fragmented. So that's also that there we have that pushing away in the reactives. Also read these, because it can really make you understand, kind of click, you know, what something is happening, or often what that pattern can be when you, especially if you have this archetype in a prominent position in your chart. And this brings us in to looking at let's see if I can go back. So here we have the living library. So this is almost like what we are doing with the 64 doors. Here we have a lot of information in just one place. So of course the gene key information, so complexity and deafness go hand in hand. When the 43 and the 23 are together, it's creates, I actually like how the integral human design speaks about it. It says avoidance, because when you're deaf and everything's complex, it's like there is this avoidance, and it can be an avoidance of sharing, can be an avoidance. It's just, it doesn't go through. Like there's so much genius in this channel, but at a low frequency, it doesn't get through to the other. There is no, it's the individuality that isn't able to share, you could say. So the knowing doesn't get shared at all. And we have mountain over earth, so splitting apart. And that's, again, you could say the splitting apart is taking away what's not necessary, so that you can stay with the core of it, and then that's what's explained, what's shared. If we look closer at the I Ching, it will say the illusion of stability in a world of change crumbles and reveals the golden core. So that's very much, I feel, where we are right now in the world. And here you see the geometry. So the first 3 words, complexity, simplicity, quintessence, that's the frequency band at 23. And then you're going to see that it's made up of stressed, restrained, stillness. So that is the first one here, you know, mountain. And then you have earth, dislocation, orientation, unity. So 2 trigrams of earth makes up the second gene key. 2 trigrams of mountain makes up the 52nd gene key. So basically here we have this braid, if you want, of the 23, the 52, and the 2 together. And knowing that this is the very, very receptive gene key that we were in last week, so appreciating receptivity. And here, if you look at the rave mandala, you're going to see that this is what we were in. We had earth over earth last week, and now we have earth on the bottom, and it's going to be on the bottom for all the elementary trigrams. And then before it changes into the next one, that is 2 of the same. So there is also a lot of interesting geometry when you go hexagram by hexagram and you see what actually happens. We are still in the Taurus energy. So the lover, the dancer, the embodied beauty, it's about flow and presence, and it's service to self. And the dream arc. So here we have the scarab, the sheep, and the magpie. And I would say really a very beautiful place to go to is Jane Addams' blog. There you can find always, every week, she does the dream, she paints the dream arc, and you're going to have the 3 animals together, so you can feel into the fear key, the life key, and the vision key. She's also painting the mudras, which is something that I really, really love. So it's so simple. Here you have Richard and the mudra, and it's also painting the yin and the yang, you know, and the broken lines for yin, and the clothesline for yang. And then you have the mudra. And here, 4 fingers rest on the thumb, and the 2 hands point upward like buds. Quintessence of life and death are through each other. And you can also, let's see, I actually, for me, because if I'm logged in, I can actually go to the mudras. And this is, you can purchase them, and it's going to look like this. So there's a library of all the mudras, and it's a couple of minutes maximum, but it's beautiful. I mean, if you are really if you're really ambitious, you can do all the mudras every day. It would take you an hour. But you can also just go to your life's work, or you could follow the transits as we do here. So every week you would do in the morning the mudra that is in transit. And it's such a simple, speaking about simplicity in the 23, it's such a simple way of really tapping into the energy of the gene keys, and the archetypes, because you kind of feel like the archetype, you know, you kind of, when you do the mudra for simplicity, you feel that it's like you're translating something from the inner to like something very something on the outside that feels like stable and simple. So that's a beautiful way to interact with the mudras. And what about this week? I'm thinking, actually I can stop sharing and look at some of the questions. So for me, the 23 is a lot about spontaneity, and I've seen a lot of people actually that have it in their vocation, for example, which is the core wound before it switches and becomes the vocation. And many people that have the 23 almost feels like they are hesitant or a little bit afraid of sharing, and they have kind of lost that, or they haven't tapped into the spontaneity, maybe because so many times they shared and it wasn't appreciated. So I feel like this is a week to go into, where can you be more spontaneous, and what happens? Is it really that scary? And is it really that scary if somebody doesn't understand you? Because the 23 is a lot about, it's an individual gate, right? It's an individual archetype. So it's going to have its individual dreams. So for example, for you, if you have a dream or a vision, are you able to stay with that even if nobody else understands it? And you know, are you able to share what you're really feeling or thinking, or are you afraid of being judged? Is it okay for you to be alone with your intention? How often do you feel like you talk too much or say the wrong thing? And do you criticize, you know, well, what does the inner critic say about that? And what does right timing mean for you? Because that's the key for this archetype. Can you feel when it's good to be silent and when it's the right moment to say something? Do you have that fingertip feeling about things? And how do you relate to complexity and simplicity? And for example, in your life, is there any area of your life where there's clutter? Maybe if you cleaned it out, then you would have a lot more clarity, and that simplicity would create space for you for something new, for example. And yeah, I feel for me, the biggest thing this week is about that spontaneity, and to also be able to follow our impulses, and be a little bit of a rebel with that, because we have the 43, we could call it the creative rebel. Also the 8 that we're going to be next week is that kind of that your own style. So start to tap into that already now. What is your style? What is your voice? And what is so dangerous with sharing it? What is so dangerous with other people's judgments, for example? We have that inbuilt in us, because before it was really dangerous to be outside the tribe, right? When we were in the more tribal community. But nowadays, it's often that individuality, that unique style, that unique expression that's actually going to be an example that other people are going to follow, not because it wants to be a leader, but it's really inspiring with people that, you know, speak their own language and speak their own truth more than language, and go their and just really walk their own way through life. So thank you, and I'll see you again next week.